Sophie had been single long enough to know how rare it was to find a man who seemed both charming and genuine. After weeks of texting and late-night calls, Daniel felt different. He wasn't just polite, he was thoughtful, sweet, and even a little old-fashioned in a way that made Sophie's heart race. When he suggested a romantic dinner at one of the nicest restaurants in town, she couldn't hide her excitement. She spent hours getting ready, slipping into her favorite red dress, curling her hair, and finishing the look with a touch of perfume she reserved only for special nights. As she looked in the mirror, she smiled nervously. This could be the start of something real. When she arrived at the restaurant, candlelight flickered across polished tables, the sound of soft jazz floating in the air. Sophie was seated near the window, her heart beating faster with every passing minute. Then she saw him. Daniel, handsome in a navy blazer, walking toward her with a wide smile. For a moment, Sophie felt like she was in a movie, but then she noticed something that made her blink twice. Daniel wasn't walking alone. Right beside him, arm linked with his, was a woman, older, elegantly dressed, and smiling warmly. "Sorry we're late," Daniel said cheerfully. "Sophie, this is my mom." The words hung in the air like a misplaced punchline. Sophie forced a polite smile as Daniel pulled out a chair, not for her, but for his mother, who sat down gracefully as if this were the most natural thing in the world. "Such a pleasure to finally meet you," his mom said, her voice warm but firm. "Daniel talks about you all the time." Sophie's mind raced. All the time? We've only been talking for 3 weeks. She glanced at Daniel, waiting for him to laugh and admit this was some kind of joke. But he just smiled proudly, as if bringing his mother on their first romantic dinner was perfectly normal. The waiter arrived, and before Sophie could even open her menu, Daniel's mom began ordering for the table. "We'll start with the bruschetta, then the house salad, and make sure the chicken is extra tender for Daniel. He hates when it's too dry." Sophie sat frozen, her dream date unraveling before her eyes. She wanted to run, but something told her to stay, because this night was only going to get stranger, and far more revealing than she could have imagined. As the evening dragged on, Sophie realized she wasn't tea on a date at all. She was trapped in a family dinner she never signed up for. Daniel barely spoke, letting his mother dominate the conversation. She asked Sophie about her job, her plans for the future, even how many kids she wanted, scribbling mental notes like she was conducting an interview. "Daniel needs someone who understands him," she said, patting his hand with a proud smile. "He's so sensitive, so special. Not every woman can take care of him the way he deserves." Sophie forced a laugh, sipping her wine a little too quickly. Was this a date or an audition? Every time she tried to talk directly to Daniel, his mother interrupted, answering for him or correcting his stories. Sophie felt invisible, like an extra in what was supposed to be her own movie. When dessert came, the mother leaned closer. "So, Sophie, do you cook? Daniel loves a good home-cooked meal. I could give you some of our family recipes if this goes anywhere." The implication was clear. This wasn't tea romance. It was a job application to become Daniel's caretaker. Sophie's smile began to crack. The romantic image she had built of Daniel shattered with every passing second. This wasn't just about a man who loved his mom. This was about a man who couldn't live without her approval. She excused herself to the bathroom, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her lipstick was smudged, her curls limp, her eyes wide with disbelief. She whispered to herself, "What am I doing here?" When she returned to the table, Daniel's mother was showing childhood photos on her phone. Daniel in braces, Daniel at prom, Daniel asleep on the couch with a blanket. Sophie sat down silently, her stomach churning. Finally, she snapped, "Daniel, may I talk to you alone for a moment?" He looked startled, glancing at his mother as if asking permission. That single look told Sophie everything she needed to know. Outside the restaurant, Sophie took a deep breath. "Daniel," she said firmly, "you're a grown man. But tonight it felt like I was on a date with both of you, and that's not what I want." His face fell, but before he could respond, his mother appeared in the doorway. "If she can't accept us as a package, Daniel, she's not the one." Sophie shook her head, a sad smile tugging at her lips. "No, Mum, I'm not the one. But maybe someday Daniel will realize he has to be enough on his own." She walked away, heels clicking against the pavement, each step lighter than the last. The night hadn't given her the romance she hoped for, but it gave her clarity. Love isn't about finding someone perfect. It is about finding someone independent enough to stand beside you, not behind their parents. What would you have done if you were Sophie? Would you have stayed and endured the dinner, or left the moment his mum sat down? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this story made you cringe, don't forget to subscribe to Dating Horror Stories, where the most shocking dates are always the ones you'll never forget.